All right, I got a very special guest with me today. He's want to talk to y'all a little bit about the convention and some shit's going down at the convention. And you with me?
I'm here.
All right. That voice sounds familiar.
It may be familiar to some of your listeners. I don't know.
What's up, Mike?
What's up, my brother? Happy Sunday.
Hey, it's early, ain't it?
It's
It
not too early. We didn't it's not 6 a.m. or nothing, but
well,
I
well, we
hear you
was
got a heavy schedule today, so try to get in early.
that's right. Hell, we were supposed to have started 53 minutes ago. And of course, you know me and computers and
Yeah,
shit. My stuff's been updating for 50 minutes.
well, that too, and then we had to do a little, bullshit and catching up, and
Right, right,
bit of
right.
that prior to coming out officially, of course. I didn't have
So
a chance
what
to fly down to Nashville today, so I feel bad about that.
I know it was, I got my little room here. My chair's still sitting here where you were sitting the other day, all alone, all sad and shit.
Right.
All right, Mike Caref, what's going on with you, man? What's been going on with you lately?
Okay, so well, just FY, this is not what I came on to talk about, but we are having a balloon release. I guess by the time this broadcast, you guys will miss it. But anyway, Octavia Redmond, her funeral will not be until this Friday. She was the one that was killed out on the route last Friday. But they're having a balloon release. Of course, you know how the letter carriers are. It's going to be a whole picnic and barbecue and whatever. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's going to be 3 p.m. over in the West Pullman neighborhood. They're asking everyone to wear orange, which is you can see that I'm wearing an orange shirt today. I
Yeah.
guess orange is supposed to be something about gun violence or something. I don't know, but anyway,
Okay.
we'll be out there today. Just FYI on that. What I came out to talk about
Let me
is
let me let me
what,
stop you right there
brother.
about Octavia Redmond because I was going to talk about her during this episode about some stuff I heard. I'm gonna ask you, and that way I won't have to talk about it since you brought her up.
Yep.
Okay, this is what I heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong. But she had witnessed a crime on her route, and she had reported that to management and asked to be moved off the route or something to that effect. And they did not do that. And then she was basically assassinated. Somebody drove up on her, got out, came up to the vehicle and shot 15 times and struck her four. Is that close to being correct?
She was struck 4 times. I didn't know about 15 shots, but she was definitely assassinated. That's how I describe it. Because they just pulled up and shot her dead. The circumstance of why, honestly, we don't know. And
Okay.
that's the problem is the sister's not around to tell her story, but she did witness a murder, but the murder was not on her route. It was
Okay.
actually in front of the post office. But there's really no indication that anyone knew that anyone would tie her to that or be looking
Okay.
for her because of that. But they were looking for her for a reason. I don't want to say that she asked to be moved off the route, because if she would have called the Union Hall and asked to get off the route for safety reasons, we do have a procedure that usually works, because we have citywide bidding. And so we're usually able to work out in a situation like that with the Postal Service where you can temporarily work at another station as an unassigned regular until such time as you get a chance to bid. And then you'll have a regular bid assignment. And usually they work with us on something like that. In this situation, it's not like she did not reach out to the Union Hall. Now, there were some issues out there, and this is one of them areas where there's a lot of issues. And this is why we are very adamant that having a postal police department that is out there to protect us is valuable. There's a lot of value in that. And, obviously they can do patrols, but they can also, be the ones that you alert whenever there's an issue. There's someone following me. This happened. I want to make sure that there's no retaliation or whatever it is. They can assist the local police. Sometimes we're out there on the street, the local police want our help, right? We're looking for so-and-so, well, that kind of puts us in danger. You know, we don't want to be
Yeah.
the ones that are known in the neighborhood as having told on this person, or, you know, hey, where does this person live? You know, that kind of thing. So having postal police that can be the liaison to the local police department and also be a resource for us and also be out there on patrol is very valuable, you know. So there was a postal police officer named Marlon Barber, and he came out to the rally we had last Monday. And if you look at the clip, if you go to the Branch 11 Facebook page, I don't know where else you can find it at, but if you go to the Branch 11 Facebook page, you can see all of the speeches, including Mr. Barber's speech. And you know, they want to be out there protecting us. They want to, they'll put us in the game, but the Postal Service has them only protecting real estate, buildings, brick and mortar, you know, and that's insulting. You know, what about the human beings, you know, that are out there that are actually in danger? So one of the things that I've been talking about is, and you know, we've been talking about, because I know this is something that our former president, Mac Julian, has been promoting, and that is that Senator Durbin and Senator Collins from Maine, they put forth a bill that's pending currently in Congress that would give the post office money to hire more police and have them out there on the streets, you know, actually protecting us. And we're not pushing that bill. You know, there's no fact sheet on it. If you go to the NELC legislative page, you know, it's not something that we're actively promoting. We are promoting the Fitzpatrick bill, protect our letter carriers, which is a good bill as well, but it doesn't have that element in it. And that's an element that I think we need, and that would really help us and help to keep us safe out there on the street.
Yeah. To me, and I know you feel the same because we've talked. I think that the city letter carrier's job right now is one of the most unsafe positions in the country. I mean, you got the police officer, obviously, that's the most dangerous. You're putting yourself, firefighters and stuff, but us with the heat,
Yeah.
dealing with that, you know, that's as deadly as anything. We see that with obviously with Mr. Gates, and then the supervisor that they tell to go sit in the back of a vehicle all day long. She passes away. That's sheer ignorance on her bosses. Um, arrow keys, you know, we're losing our lives for that. We're getting robbed for those. Now we have a sister, whatever reason, gets murdered, you know, assassinated on the route. People always talk about, you know, we need to strike and we got to get out and strike. I don't agree with that per se. Just like y'all did, you can rally, you know, you can make things happen as far as rallies,
Yeah.
and you can get in the street, you know, you don't have to cut off service to the entire country to raise awareness. You
We,
can
we, we did
rally.
that thing at 8 a.m. You know, they said, well, that's the time the carriers got to work. And I said, well, hey, every letter carrier, it's not like we never come to work late. You know, it's not
Yeah,
like we don't have an emergency or something. It's not a work stoppage. We're going to go to work. We're going to deliver
yeah,
the mail. But this is a family emergency. This is
yeah,
something that we need to deal with right here and right now. So there was hundreds of carriers out there, and you know, they just revised their schedule or had a late start or whatever. You know, whatever,
yeah,
however they worked it out. You know, we didn't, you know, figure all that part out, but we felt it was important to stop what we were doing
yeah.
and deal with this, you know, first thing, 8 a.m. in the morning. That's what we did.
Well, just think if our national president, and I'm always going to be on this motherfucker because I think he's the most worthless individual we've ever had work for the NLC. If he would mobilize the entire country to do the same thing, if he had mobilized the entire country when Mr. Gates passed away, under those situations, those circumstances that happened to him with these stationary events and how they're targeting still targeting the carriers on these stationary events. You see these scanner messages all the time, and these hour office times, how dangerous it is for us on the street. If we would have a competent president that mobilized us nationally and said, hey, on this date, this is exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to have every congressman, senator that can be out, you know, come out. The public's going to be aware of our working conditions and things like that. But hell, I can't even get this motherfucker to write in a letter that watching us on these scanners is a grievance rather than just say it's a fucking inconvenience. You know, talking about I know you're going to talk about some hip training and stuff, but saying that those are discrepancies. I don't understand this motherfucker for the life of me.
So, and the point is, I think that we're not utilizing the strength, the power, and the resources that we have. And
Yes.
you go back to last summer, we allowed the Postal Service to tell all the media outlets that that Mr. Gates had received heat illness prevention program training, that he had received training on what to do out there in the heat, when we know for a fact that he, well, we don't know for a fact that he did not. We think he did not, but we know for a fact that thousands of letter carriers did not, and we know for a fact that they falsified the records, and we know what we know. And by not having any public shaming of the Postal Service, by not having any plan in the grievance process, so if we would have filed a national grievance, we could have requested any correspondence that came out of the HIP, because the HIP has an enforcement mechanism in there where it says, from headquarters, you're going to send it out here, and then from this department, it goes here. So we say we should have told the Postal Service, we want to see those emails. What the hell are you telling these managers to do that led them to, instead of actually giving the training, they're falsifying the records? Instead of them giving the training, they falsify the records. How did so many managers come to that conclusion? What communication did you give to them? And you can file a national grievance on the issue, and then you get a result. And if we would have got a result in 2023, now in 2024, we don't have that problem. Maybe the Postal Service agrees with us that we're going to involve the union in the training, or, some type of way to improve upon the training so it's more effective, or, some checks and balances built into the HIP program or something. You would have got some result if you would have taken action in 2023. The reason I wanted to come on and talk is, and I don't know if this will come up at the convention or not, but this is, your episode kind of preparing for the convention. So I wanted to alert all of the delegates, and I sent out a message to the members of the Executive Council, putting this on the agenda. We're going to be meeting this week prior to the convention, and I hope that we're able to resolve it and it does not have to go in front of the convention bodies. But one thing that's happening out there is that still to this day, here we are in, going into August of 2024, we're still sitting on our grievances that we filed in 2023 regarding the HIP and regarding the falsification. There's two issues. Did they implement the program the way they're supposed to? And two, did they falsify the record? So on those two issues, the Postal Service declared, well, I shouldn't use the word declared. They wrote a letter stating that this is possibly an interpretive issue. And when they did that, the NELC decided, we all got a message from a headquarters person, one of the staffers that works there. And the message said, put all your grievances on hold. Put all your grievances, don't arbitrate, don't even move them, don't do nothing with those grievances until we're able to resolve this issue. That was January 31st of this year. So, me and others have been, saying, hey, what are we doing here? What's with our grievances? So, and I don't want to, I'm not going to tell someone how to do their job. The executive vice president is our point person for this within the grievance arbitration procedure. Could be the vice president, but it's not, and I'm not in on all that, you can make your own judgments or whatever, but ultimately the president has the ultimate authority. He has assigned the executive vice president to, deal with the Postal Service on these type of issues. And where we're at right now is that we're waiting for an official response from the Postal Service. And what I'm saying is that's not good enough. They're going to have to either tell us that it's an interpretive issue, or they're gonna have to, or we're gonna, move our grievances forward. We're the moving party in the grievance, and everyone that handles grievances out there, I don't expect you guys all to be Article 15 gurus, but the basic concept of the grievance procedure. The basic concept in the grievance procedure is that we're the moving party. If it's left up to the Postal Service, they would never hear our grievances, because they've already done whatever the hell they wanted to do. in this case in 2023 regarding the HIP training, they did what they wanted to do, you know? So we are the ones that have to move the grievance at every step. And I'm not trying to say, and that's why I'm not trying to get into the executive vice president's mindset or what he's trying to do, you know, because sometimes you do have extensions, you do hold grievances, you do say, okay, we'll circle back to that. We understand that, right? But at the end of the day, on behalf of the members of the union, you got to move that grievance. You got to move it from informal to formal A. If they don't resolve it, from formal A to step B, and then the same thing as step B. So this issue should be moved, is really all I'm, this issue should be moved.
Barner's responsible for that.
Correct. Well, at the direction of the president.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's always the president, but he has designated Barner for that.
Correct.
Have you heard anything about the status of those HIP grievances?
We've heard verbally, because I've talked to Paul many times, and I know I'm not the only person that's talked to him, you know, what's the status? He's told us verbally that his counterpart in the Postal Service does not think it's an interpretive issue, but he hasn't received anything in writing. And I can see you on the Zoom laughing. And let me just say this and why it's, you know, kind of so important that we take some action here, right? So in the Chicago post office last year, we filed a grievance, and we filed a grievance on the issue of the Postal Service not doing enough to protect us out there in the street. We filled out a 1767. We said, respond to this installation-wide 1767. Respond to this 1767 and tell us what steps you're going to take, you know, to protect us. We're constantly getting stuck up, you know, whatever, out there in the street. And I think the Postal Service either was an inadequate response or they didn't even respond at all. But either way, we filed a grievance on their response or lack thereof. That grievance was set to go to arbitration on March the 4th of this year. Prior to the arbitration date, the Postal Service Labor Relations rep said, we think this may be an interpretive issue, possibly an interpretive issue. And then they canceled the hearing, and I was instructed by headquarters to hold the grievance. And subsequent to that was the same type of follow-up conversation. Hey, are they going to call it interpretive or not, right? I followed up with Paul many times, and Paul's answer was the same. They're telling me they're not going to call it interpretive, right? Well, guess what happened on Monday of this week? They fucking called it interpretive. Sorry, well, I guess cussing is good on your program.
I won't edit that out.
Dude, it pissed me off to no end that now, 3 days after our sister is shot dead out on the street, now you want to inform us in writing, and you still don't even have the decency, what, 4 or 5 months later, to tell us that it's an interpretive issue? You send us a letter with this bullshit language that says we're considering calling this an interpretive issue, which is the same language they used for the HIP grievances. We're considering calling it an interpretive issue.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't expect no one to be an Article 15 guru. There is nothing in Article 15 that allows the Postal Service to put our grievances on hold because they're considering calling it an interpretive issue. If they call it an interpretive issue, then it puts the grievances on hold, because then there's a process that is in play for the parties to discuss, and you're either going to come up with a step 4 resolution, or you're going to go to arbitration and have a neutral arbitrator, you know, resolve the issue and apply that language nationally. You have a national arbitration award. One way or another, it gets resolved. But if you don't actually call it interpretive, it doesn't resolve the issue. It just has it out there in perpetuity. And we've decided to give the Postal Service this leniency and this grace on the HIP grievances to allow them to come up with a decision on what they're going to do. And that in and of itself is harmful to our members who are waiting on an answer to the question of what's going to happen with our HIP grievances. So either we're going to resolve this in the Executive Council this week, or I'm going to bring this issue to the convention floor and ask the delegates, because, you know, in between conventions, the Executive Council is the supreme body of the NELC. But at the convention, now you have the delegates to the convention, and they are the supreme body of the union and they make the decision. So I hope I don't have to take that step. I hope that we'll resolve it. I'll certainly keep you guys posted, but I just wanted to alert everyone of that possibility. We may be dealing with this issue at the convention, and we got a lot of other issues we're going to deal with too, but I don't want to have to add one, but hopefully we'll get it resolved. I have a certain amount of confidence in my brothers and sisters on the council. I mean, we might not always agree, but I think we have some good people, man. I mean, you and I might not always see eye to eye on this one, but I think we have some good people on the council. I think we have some really bad.
Do we?
Well, like I say, that's my opinion. But hey, and it's fair game. We're elected officials of the union. It's fair game, criticisms and that kind of thing. And really, at the end of the day, you have to produce results for the members. And we have not produced results for the members as a council, I think, up until now. But I don't think it's because we're not good people or we're not trying. We just really have some bad leadership, and we have to change that. We have to change the dynamic of what's going on.
Well, they had an opportunity to change it, is the problem.
Oh, with the charges. Yeah.
With the charges, and they chose not to. So you and I will disagree. I know that there are some on that executive council that are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
When the members in this convention, however many thousands upon thousands of people will be sitting there, when they look up front and there's the executive council, when they see them up there on the stage, the executive council, I hope they know that they're looking at a group of the most cowardly motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life up there on that stage, as far as our executive council. I think they are culpable for what's going on with the union right now. As far as backing this sorry motherfucker we have as president, talking about the hip gets me fired up every time.
Yeah.
You know how I am about that.
It's egregious. It's egregious. And like I say, look, I don't want to predict what's going to happen. I sincerely hope that we're going to take action this week and put us on a good path of how we're dealing with those grievances. And we can report back to the members. Here's what we decided to do. Here's how we're going to handle these grievances, and in a way that works for everyone. But if we don't, then the delegates will get their chance to speak. That's how it goes. That's how the process is. Hey, what do you think? Do you think we're going to get presented a contract by the president? What do you think on that?
I think, you look at social media, there's so many rumors, so many people sending me things saying that it's a done deal, all these percentages and shit like that. I'll say this. I hope it's the greatest contract we've ever received. I think we deserve that. I think that we are vastly underpaid. I know that, Mike, that there are carriers that are living in their cars.
Yeah.
And that the branch, you know what I'm talking about. And branches are putting in showers at the branch hall, at the union hall, so that carriers can take showers at the branch because they're having to live in their vehicles. That is absolutely inexcusable. We're going on, what day is it now? 400 and what?
Let me hold on, man. Let me go to careforpress.org, man. It's at the top of the thing there.
I knew you'd get it. I knew you'd get it in there. Hey, that's supposed to be later. You're supposed to come on later with that shit.
It's 434 days, 16 hours, and 16 minutes, brother.
434 days, Mike.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that this low down sorry motherfucker has held off on that to save his ass. And there'll be those that'll say, well, if he tells you got a contract, you're bitching. You don't have a contract, you're bitching. I would hate to think that this motherfucker held off on that because, he had this meeting however many weeks ago where they're saying, we're not going to come out of this meeting until we have something finalized.
That's supposed to be a lockdown, right? So it's supposed to be a lockdown.
Yeah. Came out of the meeting, nothing finalized. I'd hate to know that these motherfuckers had something in place and he sat on that until the convention to save his funky ass. But I wouldn't put it past him. But I hope that it's the best contract we've ever had because we deserve it and then some. So I don't know, man. I don't
know what, and this is, part of the problem, and obviously open bargaining is going to come up. There's another resolution that my branch submitted that I love. And it's going to come up early because it's a constitutional amendment but it's a change to the Constitution that requires the president, whoever the president is, when they go into collective bargaining, they have to either involve, meaning that they're present, or debrief, meaning that they let them know what's going on, the members of the executive council or one of their designees. So basically, everyone in the country will know what's going on with your bargaining. And, the fact that this thing has been closed up has really hurt us. There's a lot of issues that no matter what contract, if we do get a contract or not, a negotiated contract, because eventually we're going to get a contract one way or another. But if we get a negotiated contract, there's so many things that are not going to be included in it. Things like the grievance process, things like mandatory overtime, things like the transfer rules or whatever, things that are important to, different members for different reasons. And we know those things are not being addressed. The having a career workforce, is it going to be sufficient to the members of the union if we get a contract, it gives us a raise, but it keeps the non-career classification? Is that going to be okay? We don't know, because we don't know what these talks have been, and then, with the president that we have, because he has the issues that he has, and he's admitted to having those issues, and he's seeking help for those issues, but you cannot trust everything that he says. And, that's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah. The person that has the type of illness that he has is the type of person that will lie to you. I mean, it's it's the fact. So,
well,
now we have the closed bargaining, and we have a person at the top of the helm who's not honest always, at least, with the members, and that's a problem. And I'll just say this. Now, this is just my opinion. I think the most serious charge when we deal with the charges against President Renfro, the most serious, the most impactful, the charge that we should really spend the most amount of time on is the abandonment during contract negotiations in the early part of 2023, because that has definitely harmed us. That has harmed every single member of the union. The fact that we had to do a restart when he came back in June, that he did not hand off all of the information that he had, if he even had any information on what strategy sessions had taken place, what meetings had taken place, what proposals had been exchanged. I mean, we had nothing when he left. He just abandoned us for 3-4 months, and that really harmed the collective bargaining process. And if a person is being honest, they'll admit that it did harm us, and he should admit that it did harm us. And the fact that he's been running around saying that it didn't harm us, and this contract negotiation has just gone on and on and on and on. And if we do get a contract this week, the question every member of the union is gonna think is, why the hell couldn't we get this thing last year? Why did we have to wait a year to get whatever it is that we're going to get, if there's a contract? And if there's not, and we end up having to go to arbitration, it will be the longest delay in getting a contract in the history of the NELC if we have to go to arbitration. So either way, the harm has been done, and his actions in abandoning us, they need a response by the membership. In my opinion, they need a response.
Well, that same executive council you said you had respect for, let that motherfucker off the hook.
Yeah, and we voted 21-7 against that one. I was surprised. I was surprised. I thought it would be close. I didn't think it would be that. I thought we might not win that one, right? But I didn't think we'd lose it 21-7. I don't know, man. It's look, the proof is in what happens. I'm not questioning nobody's motives or their, whatever. I'm not questioning their dedication to the members of the NELC, but you got to deliver for the members. I do believe that.
I question it.
Yeah. And that's fine. That's fine.
I question all of it, because I read the Weir report, the panel report, Mr. Jackson's rebuttal, and all those things.
He did a great job, didn't he? Charlie did a great job laying the whole thing out last Sunday.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. And, but, and then for him to get pissed at Fred Rolando, for helping out.
Yeah,
You talk about he's got that disease of alcoholism. He's also got a disease of narcissism.
yeah,
He's the biggest narcissist I've ever seen, and that he refuses to acknowledge his wrongdoing. Even in this video where he looked like he was a hostage when he was talking
he
about
was. He was. We made him do the video. He didn't want to do
I
it.
I was looking at his eyes to see if he was blinking Morse code to tell us where he was at and if we could come and get him. I was like, "Man, they got my man in a bunker
What's your
somewhere."
location? Give us a sign.
Hey, look, that vehicle's fixing to run out of gas, brother. That vehicle he's been riding about this alcoholism. I get it. I understand. You and I have dealt with it in arbitration before. We deal with that, and we fight for that, for those that have that disease, and it is a disease. But he's been sober for 400 something days now. He says that vehicle he's been riding is running out of gas. And so eventually you're going to have to put up or shut up. And it cannot always be fall back on, you have to understand I was an alcoholic.
Right.
I was damn baby, 400 something days. And, I can understand it takes a while. They say, when a contract gets ratified, we're already working on the next one. So you've been working on the next one for 2 years, 4 years, whatever. And then you say, a lot of the things that we can come to a resolution on, we've come to a resolution. We got just a few things that are hanging us up. Our wages will always be that one thing, maybe a few other things. So 100 days go by, we still can't quite get it figured out. This gap we have, 200 days goes by, we're still working on this gap, still can't get this gap down to where we want it. 300 days goes by, still working on this gap, man. Still, looking at this gap. 400 days goes by, still working on this gap. What in the fuck are we doing?
And the problem is that when the president says I'm an alcoholic and says part of me being an alcoholic is that alcoholics lie.
Yeah,
And these are facts. We get that,
yeah,
but it's like, wow. It's someone who's an alcoholic, they have it's an illness, right? And so there's something in them, some other thing that lets the alcohol take control of them. And the only way, at least what the experts say, and you have the 12-step programs and all that, the only way you can deal with that is by humbling yourself, by coming forth, being honest, by atoning, by just, putting yourself out there and trying to change who you are. And honestly, man, if that would have happened, if he would have came back in June of last year and said, I got a problem, I'm working on it. I apologize for the position that I put the members of the union in. I would have been the first one to say, we're with you, brother. Because you're a fellow brother going through something. But when you take the position that your illness, that it's okay for you, that your illness negatively hurts every member of the union, and that's okay, we just have to live with that. I'm not okay with that. You have to have results as the president.
Even when, and this is what me and Mr. Vaffietta has talked about. I don't know if you remember that when he was on here, and he was talking about he was excusing it all away as alcoholism, and I was like, in the Weir report, he was sober.
Right.
He was sober when Weir was talking to him, and Mr. Weir was saying even then he was being untruthful and he was dishonest in his answers. And so, of course, the executive council kissing this son of a bitch's ass like they do. It didn't matter what he said. It didn't matter what Weir was going to find, because you had the panel. I know you. The panel was protecting him. The executive council obviously was in this motherfucker's pocket. So, hell, we got off on something there. Let me get back to HIP.
Yeah.
Let's get
So,
back to HIP.
like I said, hopefully this issue will get resolved this week, and we'll come up with a good strategy for the members on dealing with the HIP grievances that are still pending from 2023. But if not, the delegates will speak And I just wanted to let you guys know that you'll have that opportunity if it comes to that. And that, as my brother Mac put in his article in the Postal Record, the delegates to the convention are the supreme body. Let's not forget that. And we take our duties very seriously, you know.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question because you'll know better than I do. You get a letter from labor saying that they're sending this as a possible interpretive issue, talking about these HIP grievances, right? So they, like Nashville, that's in a black hole of nothingness. You know, this HIP grievance. I know you got thousands, right?
Yeah, we had 2,100 grievances just in Chicago alone, but we got other grievances throughout the
Yeah.
state of Illinois. But yeah.
So they held those, right, for a possible interpretive issue, as labor says. How is it we're getting arbitrators' decisions back on HIP grievances?
Right. Because
Can you answer that?
it wasn't interpretive in that case. And
How is
that's why you got to make them declare what the see when they declare something interpretive, the language on Article 15, you know, give the other party a detailed statement of what the, you know, that kind of thing. There's an interpretive issue on a there's a possible interpretive issue on a grievance that's in, I think, New Hampshire somewhere. I don't even know what the hell that grievance is about. You know,
Yeah.
what is the interpretive issue? We don't know. So like you said, if other grievances can go forward to regional arbitration, why can't this grievance go? What is special about this grievance? What in here reflects some interpretive issue that needs to be resolved at the national headquarters or with a national arbitrator that's not in the other grievance that went forward? And it's not in not just arbitration, right? You got arbitration decisions, but you have tons of informal and formal settlements. I mean, I don't know how many thousands of probably grievances we filed on the HIP falsification and them not giving the training in 2023, but it was a lot of them, right? And a lot of them got resolved. So why did those grievances get resolved, but these can't get resolved? And, you know, and like I say, there's a time and a place to allow for either party to take some time to figure out what their position is, that kind of thing. And that's not unreasonable, but it's unreasonable when it's been, you know, 5-6 months and we're just sitting here, you know, holding our grievances. I mean, they're literally our grievances. We need to move on.
And it's still being falsified.
And because we didn't resolve it in 2023, you know, we get some of the same results. Now, at least in my area, they did a lot better in 2024. But you know, it's not universal. We should have firm language that says, here's what's supposed to happen, so that wherever it doesn't happen, whether it's widespread or it's one damn carrier, right? Wherever it doesn't happen, we should be able to get that remedied and rectified through the grievance procedure. But we don't have an agreement on language because we didn't file a national grievance and then we put our grievances on hold. And, you know, there's just the strategy hasn't worked up until now.
Yeah, you file a national level grievance, and I don't think we've talked about this. Maybe this was before we came on. You know, you were talking about one of the very first ones. You were saying that this needed to be sent as a national level grievance. You were the first one to come out about that, I believe, and I think I remember some business agents kind of chiding you on that, saying that this should have been sent. I know mine was one of them. That you were saying that this should have been sent as a national level grievance, and I agreed 100% with that, because what's happening now is, and I talk about this all the time, but this is one of the main things that has chapped my ass about this bitch ass president we have, is that when he says that it's not falsified, there are discrepancies. You know, he told the newspaper, you know, there's discrepancies. No, I'm not going to say falsified. There's discrepancies.
That was actually management's argument when they went to arbitration a couple of times, that it was inadvertent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I say we need to see the emails. We need to see the communication, because
you can do that at a national level grievance. Yeah. In a national level grievance, you can see that.
Yeah.
You can show that.
Yep.
You know, you can get Manny Peralta to come on and say, hey, I want every grievance that's filed on HIP falsification. I want to know the percentage in this country. You got 87% of the country's HIP training was falsified in some form or fashion. You can now, like you say, you can get correspondence. You can get email transmissions between people. You can get all these things in these case files or however, and you can show a national arbitrator, here's what they did with this heat training, this hip training, the ones that they said Mr. Gates had received, only to come to find out they had falsified his hip training, the one that the newspaper said he had received. And you can show this to an arbitrator. They're intentionally falsifying documents, postal documents.
Right.
That's what that is,
Right.
and our president says,
And what is the
that's
purpose? What is the motivation? The motivation is your motivation to make sure that every carrier receives this important training to protect their safety, or is your motivation to be able to tell some outside agency or check a box and say we did this, like they were doing with the media. Oh no, we have this hip training. So because anyway, what is your motivation will when you get the details, you'll know what the motivation is, and then you'll be able to hold them accountable.
I know what the motivation was. You don't want 190,000, 200,000 carriers sitting in the office for 25 minutes watching a video. You wanted them out of the office so that you can make this hour office time or whatever. It's always about the money. It will always come back to the money. And so they did not want to spend that time nationwide having carriers sit in the office when they could be out there in the heat, hurrying up. And
Yeah,
that's what I think.
The hip grievances that we have in Chicago, there's an automatic remedy of $2,500 every time they violate a previous non-compliance agreement. So with 2,100 grievances times $2,500, plus that's just the payment to the branch, and then you got we were asking, I think, for $25 a day for each carrier, depending on how long it took them to actually do the training. So like I think in my case it was like 30 or something days before they actually gave me the training or offered me the training.
Yeah.
But for some carriers it was 200 days or whatever before they got the training. But anyway, it was about the money. They're like, we don't want to go to arbitration and have to pay out all this money. Well, you did what you did.
Yeah.
And our only recourse is to bleed you financially until you change your practices, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have the keys. The Postal Service is the employer. They can tell their subordinate managers what to do, and they can set up whatever procedures they want to set up. But your failure to do that is going to cost you. And instead of them paying the piper like they were supposed to, we're either letting them off the hook or we're delaying it. And that's what I want to make sure that we don't keep doing.
Yeah. Well, we mishandled this thing from the very beginning. When it first came out, I know you were talking about it. I was talking about it, how this should be handled nationwide. You got decisions coming back, it wasn't falsified. You got decisions coming back, it was falsified. You got some paying money, some saying do the training. Some, when it first came out, I was blistering these B teams for this, chicken shit language that they was putting out. We just mishandled this entirely. I think it goes back to showing how inept my president is and how over his head he is in our position.
He was actually gone. So, it's water under the bridge now because it was last year. But he was gone.
What's still going on?
The hip training was supposed to take place April 1st, right? So, he didn't come back until I think late June, at the end of June. So he was gone. Paul was actually the acting president, or in his stead for that time. James was the vice president still. He hadn't been, well, he's still the vice president, obviously, but President Renfro at some point, I'm not even sure exactly when it took place, but he took away some of those grievance duties that James had as the vice president of the union. So, but during the summer of, the spring and the summer of 2023, that was still all in place. And, some of these things, man, is a result of individuals kind of, you have failures as an individual, like we all do. And some of this stuff is just some practices and procedures that we've put in place over the years that, no longer work, that need to be updated, that need to be changed or made better. And how we deal with issues is one of those. And you have you have, do you file a national grievance? Yes or no? That's one question that needs to be, talked about and resolved. But you also have, if you don't file a national grievance, how do you direct all of your grievance handlers on how the most effective way of winning this grievance? And we don't really have a good system in place to give direction to our presidents and our stewards and in our business agents and whatever on how to address the issue. I think both of those things, and then you have the personal failings of certain people in leadership positions, and you put all that together, and it's not been a good result so far. But we
like I said, if you don't take it, well, we didn't, but say you're not going to take it national level, and you've seen that these CLPs, Renfro saying, I just don't see it as a national level grievance. It's not a national level grievance. And we was down in Florida at that CLP, he was saying it's not a national level grievance. I know at different places people were asking about it. He kept saying, we just don't see it. It's just not one. Y'all need to fight that locally. No guidance.
Right.
No guidance from your business agents. Now I know y'all's region killed it because y'all had 2,100 something, and so no guidance from your business agents as far as how to handle that. What are these grievances going to look like? No guidance whatsoever.
Right.
No guidance from your president. And I said this all along. You can still do those things. You can still have Manny Peralta send out how many of these things have been falsified. Those things can still go in local grievances, uncontested.
Right.
This is our survey that we did. These are the findings
that it wasn't an accident, because we had one arbitrator draw the conclusion that it was inadvertent, that it wasn't willful, the falsification. And that was the wrong conclusion to draw based on the facts, but the facts weren't out in front of that arbitrator.
That's because their management comes into these arbitrations. They're going to throw some 204B under the bus, and he's going to say, I accidentally put it in. I didn't have training on how to do it. I accidentally went through these 11 steps on each carrier, even those that weren't at work. Some on details, some business agents, DRT members. I accidentally went through these 11 steps and put them as receiving training, and they didn't. It was just an accident. And you got some arbitrators buying that shit. If you come as a national level, you have a president who says, these are our findings when we did national level research, and we had all these things turned in. As the president of this union, we have found 75% of the country intentionally falsified this training, and put that in every single file. Have something from Manny Peralta saying, hey, this is what we did. We sent out messages to every president in the country, and these are our findings. 87% of the country had falsified their training, and put those in every single file. And that would help our chances drastically in arbitration. So don't tell us we're not going to take it national. Y'all handle it down there at y'all's level. Good luck. And everybody on different pages around the entire country, all 15 regions doing shit differently. No national template. No information requests, what you should look for. No contentions that you're going to put in, kind of like, grievance starter on this here. Now make this your own. Here's other things that you're going to put in here. Here's our data that we collected showing this. Here's a statement from Manny Peralta. Here's a statement from Ron Renfro, our president, saying that these things, if you want to help us win, that's what you should have done. Not say, we don't see it as national level. Good luck, everybody, on y'all's grievances. That's how I feel.
No, I know. Look, man, and I think the way you said it is exactly the way I was saying it. You have to have one or the other or both. Either you have a national grievance or you have a national coordinated strategy, or you have both. But to have neither is a problem, man. It's what we're trying to change in the union, and so the delegates to the convention, they're going to have their voice, and then obviously everyone gets a vote in 2026, and you're going to have your voice then. You're going to have your vote then. So,
anything else you got, my brother? Anything you got before Boston?
I'm sure there'll be a lot more, man. I'll be out there, man. I'll put up my I'm gonna put up my schedule.
Okay.
On I think through the website. But anyway, I look forward to meeting everyone, talking with everyone, you know,
If you
seeing
don't
what.
say something, if you don't say something, say it. You can say whatever you want to say. What do you got going on? You got
No,
a
no, I don't have like I don't have like a campaign event or nothing.
okay, okay.
I was just saying I will put up my schedule if you want to know where I'm going to be at. I mean, anyone is going to Boston, you know, just like you always say, they're not going to have a hard time finding me. So I look forward to meeting everyone, talking to everyone, people that I don't know, reconnecting with old friends. This will be, I first started going to the conventions in 2000. So I don't know, what is that, like 12 or 13 in a row. So anyway, it's always a good time. We got a lot of business to handle, and there's always a lot of time for fellowship. There's time for people to, you know, meet people. There's meet and greets. I will definitely be at the one that the Building of Fighting NELC is having on that Wednesday evening. They rented a big room. We put our money together. Hopefully they raise enough money to pay for the room.
He's coming on. He's coming on tomorrow.
Yeah,
So,
see if he's got enough money. I gave him a donation. I know you probably did too, but you know, we try to help out. But it'll be good to be able to kind of get away and hang out with everyone. So
well,
anyway, just really,
if I
really looking forward to it.
just know this, if I see you getting jumped on, I'll be there, brother, with bad intention. You hear me?
Right, with bad intention.
Baby, I'll be there with bad intention if I see somebody on you, my brother.
I appreciate that, man. But we're good, man. We're gonna be amongst family, and family does have disagreements from time to time, and that's
You're
good.
right.
It's healthy to air those things and talk about them. But at the end of the day, we got to deliver for the members. That's
it. That's it.
bottom
All
line.
right, my brother.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I'll see you in Boston, baby.
Yeah, man. Have a great day, brother.
All right, Mike. You too, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.